Well, thank you, John. I'm joined in studio by none other than Moses KURIA, who is a political strategist.
Okay.
Moses, we're just going to have a few minutes to look at 100 days of Jubilee government.
Yeah.
We want to look at the fulfilled promises and also look at missed targets.
Yeah.
But first, I want to take you through a scorecard.
Yeah.
On a scale of 0 to 100,
Yeah.
what will you give the Jubilee government in these 100 days?
I think I'll give it 60.
60%.
60%.
So 40 is missing. Why?
40 is missing because, in my opinion, the issue of the pace of formation of government may not have been factored in when the government gave the pledges for 100 days. And remember, you have to form government and then it has to go through the parliamentary processes. That has sort of slowed down in terms of that implementation. The other reason is because this government came into power just less than 3 months before the budget year, the financial year, and it was at the tail end of the budgetary process. So do you now start interfering with the existing budget, or do you factor in money for the new budget? I think those practical sort of bottlenecks, stopped Jubilee from achieving the 100%. Then, of course, there are the other man-made factors, like teacher strike, for example, and the distraction coming from Jubilee's competitors who have not really agreed to move on from.
So would you say it was a mistake on President Uhuru's side on coming out with the 100 days figure?
No.
Not foreseeing the fact that there was going to be a delay of the naming of the cabinet secretaries?
No.
And
Let's look at the history of the 100 days concept. The 100 days concept came from the Great Depression in America. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was elected at a time when there was a lot of pessimism and gloom because of the Great Depression. And he had to give pledges that because of this Great Depression, this is what I'm going to do in the first 100 days. Because you're coming from that very, very deep sort of end. Now, 100 days is an expression of the spirit of what you want to achieve when you come to government. It's not supposed to say, I'm going to count from 1 to 100, and this is what I'm going to achieve. By the way, within the existing environment, even a scorecard of 50 would be good. Yeah, would be good, because you have to also factor in that this is the first 100 days somebody is running this country within the context of the new constitution. I mean,
let's look at something that actually happened barely a month into the Jubilee government, and there was a wave of insecurity in the country.
Yeah.
And everyone of us was just waiting and to find out what the government is planning, what they're going to do and how they're going to react. Are you happy at how the Jubilee government reacted in the wave of crime and insecurity in Western and parts of Northeastern?
A new government, is always very careful, because you have to look at the people, and of course criticism would have come, oh, they have used excessive force and all that. I think when they actually decided that they are the ones in government, they are the ones who are ultimately answerable to the people of this country, they did take action. I think there was some period of let's wait and see, let's not be very tough, because we might be seen like an oppressive government, blah blah blah, which maybe is what even though people who were causing the insecurity must have made that calculation. It is typical of a new government that people, including criminals, would want to test your resolve.
Would you then say that President Uhuru was a bit holding back, I think, not to antagonize?
Not to antagonize, not certain group, but not to antagonize the people generally, because he has warned more than once that if the situation does not improve, he'll be forced to take excessive measures, especially in Garissa and Mandera. I think in Bungoma it's more or less controlled. And I think, to the best of my understanding, Bungoma was actually pointed to be sort of crime mixed with politics, with post-election politics, and issues surrounding some potential by-elections that are people think may happen in that side of the world. So you have to give that kind of an allowance, whereby we say, look, I want to exercise maximum restraint. But time comes when you are the president, you have sworn in to defend the constitution and to defend the people of this country, and you have to do whatever it takes, whether you are going to be popular or unpopular.
Okay, before we actually look quickly at the 6 key pledges within the 100 days that Jubilee actually promised, the teachers' strike, it was called off yesterday. But for the first time in the history of this country, we got into a situation where a cabinet secretary was actually announcing the closure of all public schools. This has never happened. And do you think there was partly failure of the government to address this issue early enough than to make kids wait for close to a month without getting into class and learning?
You see, for the first time that there was, different voices coming. But I want to draw your attention to another fact, that for the first time, the teacher strike took place in May, June. May, June, July. I mean, that's within the second academic term. If you go to all the other strikes from Adongo to Francis Nganga to Majare, they are always on the final term. They happen in Q4, in the fourth quarter of the year. So why is this strike happening in the middle of the year? For the first time. Why? Yeah? No, because the purpose for this was externally influenced. Because teachers always strike close to KCPE and KCSE, because withdrawal of labor is supposed to be strategic in the sense that you time it to when it's going to have actually devastating effects.
Because it will give pressure to...
Pressure because, we have, our children have to sit for exams. This particular one was actually influenced. Political? It was political. So purely political. And if it was not political, tell me why it was striking in the middle of the year with a government that is barely 100 days old. Yeah. So again, it's what I'm saying. Criminals, mad people, everybody are going to try the resolve of a new government, and that's what was happening in this particular.
Mrs. KURIA, I mean, that statement is very strong. It was politically motivated.
Yeah.
In this case, my guess is you mean CORD was also part of the influence?
I didn't say CORD, but I'm saying that if you look at the stand they took on this particular matter, and the fact even you go to social media and you look at the CORD people, the way they have commented, if you look at the key people within CORD, is that clearly they were hoping that this creates a spiral of labor unrest, and then they use it to create what they were calling the Kenyan Spring.